appreciate everybody taking the time to join us. And we will be going through a series, a presentation, and leaving time for questions at the end. If you would like to turn on interpretation, that is available in French and Spanish, and just mute original audio if you don't want to hear the English version. We will also be recording today's webinar, so that will be available in all 3 languages, and we will share that out after the event. If you have any questions, please put those into the chat. We'll do our best to answer those as we go through the program, and we'll also have time for questions at the end, and hopefully we can address as many questions as possible. I am Gretchen Gasteyer. I am the co-head of Women Deliver 2023. My other co-head, other half, Samson Tesfaye, is also on the line. And then I'm joined by the rest of the conference team at Women Deliver. Diana Mantiarad is on the line. She is our focal for the concurrent program and scholarships. Veronica Brown is our focal for plenary programs and special events. And then Heba Khatun, our communications manager. You'll be hearing from all of us today throughout the program. Veronica will be guiding us through the slides. I'll ask her to click to the next slide, and I'll give a bit of a background on the Women Deliver conference. So our conferences, if you are not already familiar, are one of the hallmark programs of Women Deliver. Our first conference was in 2007, hosted in London. We had around 1,700 people in attendance, and it was focused on maternal and child health. Since then, we've held 4 more conferences every 3 years in various locations. We always hold the conference in a new host country and city. And we've grown to focus on gender equality in general and the health and well-being of girls and women. Our most recent conference in 2019 was our largest conference to date. We had more than 8,000 people gathered in Vancouver, Canada, where we shared knowledge, gathered, networked, shared research, and also new commitments to gender equality. So we are hosting our next one in 2023, as you know, in Kigali, Rwanda. And due to COVID, we had to extend it a year. So it's the 4th year rather than the 3rd this time around. But Samson, I'll turn it over to you and you can share more about why Kigali.
Thank you, Gretchen. And so we are really excited to have our conference in Kigali, Rwanda. So this is the first time that we're holding the conference in the African continent. So the conference will be held in Kigali in person and as well as virtually from July 17 to 2023. So we expect to convene about 6,000 people in Kigali and more than 200,000 people online through our virtual conference and our 6 months global dialogue leading up to the conference, which I'll talk about later. So you might ask why Rwanda? So Rwanda had a very strong response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and they are leaders in achieving universal health coverage through the national insurance policy, and the government also prioritizes gender equality, and it's already mainstreamed in the development framework. And the World Economic Forum ranks Rwanda 6th globally as a leader in gender equality and the first one in Africa. And Rwanda also serves as the Gender Equality Forum Action Coalition leader for technology and innovation. Next slide, please. So we are expecting, as we say, like around 6,000 people on site and 200 people attending virtually. We'll have more than 2,000 organizations represented. We'll have more than 1,200 adolescent and youth leaders from different countries participate. We'll have more than 200 journalists, representation from more than 160 countries. We will have grassroots advocates, women rights organizations, UN agencies, and government officials. So we strive to have 6% of our conference organizers and speakers and advisors will be from the low and middle income countries. Next slide, please. So the the government of Rwanda, so we are working with different partners to make this conference successful. So we're working closely with the government of Rwanda, the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion of Rwanda, the Rwandan Convention Bureau, different civil societies, youth representatives, local and international NGOs, and UN agencies. Next slide, please. Okay, we'll have Heba here. Gretchen.
Actually, Gretchen,
Gretchen,
jumping in, switching things around on you. So I am focal for our conference advisory group, which is our governing body for the conference. It is made up of over 30 organizations, 60 individuals who are the part of the advisory group. And their role is to provide strategic advice and input on the development and implementation of the conference, its theme, the programming, all of the elements that go into what we're trying to achieve and the impact of the conference are really led by the conference advisory group. So it is a very diverse group. We have representation from civil society, Women Deliver Young Leaders and youth organizations, the private sector, philanthropy, UN agencies, government officials, media. So we really cover a lot of different sectors. There's every region of the world is represented in some capacity, as well as 60%, as Samson had mentioned earlier, 60% of our members live in or work for organizations based in lower and middle income countries. They also, we have representation on the AG from all 6 of the Generation Equality Forum Action Coalitions. And we'll talk more about our tie-in with GEF later. And something new for the advisory group this time around was that 1/3 of the advisory group members were selected via an open application process. So we had over 500 organizations apply to join the advisory group. And we, for the first time, had that open application process in 2021. So that's a little bit about the advisory group. You can read more about who exactly are the members on our website. And Nolene, hi Nolene, she is also on the advisory group. So glad that you can join us from Fiji today. And thank you to all of our advisory group members who might be on the line for the hard work. We've been gathering for meeting for over a year now discussing the conference. Next slide, please. So what is our theme for the conference? The theme, as determined by the advisory group, was to be spaces, solidarity, and solutions. So what does that mean? Enabling inclusive, co-created spaces that foster solidarity for sustainable solutions for gender equality. So within that, we have a wider vision statement that is on the next slide. I won't go in and read this verbatim to you. It's obviously on our website, so you can dig more into it. But we really, as one of the largest multi-sectoral convenings to advance gender equality, we really want to make sure that this is a space that is co-created by grassroots advocates, multilateral governments, the private sector, all of the stakeholders that we know need to contribute and join together in order to achieve gender equality. But we're also centering grassroots advocates, those on the ground, and also communities, those representing communities facing systemic discrimination. Sexual and reproductive health and rights are still at the core of Women Deliver, and we hope to center feminist principles within our convening. But there's also a lot of topics that we discuss at the conference and will be covered, whether that's climate change, gender-based violence, or unpaid care work. We know that there's a lot of different topics that are related to the health and well-being of girls and women and achieving gender equality. So it's a really wide umbrella of topics at the conference. Next slide, please. So we have 5 conference objectives, again, determined by the advisory group, but also we had a lot of feedback from our global community consultation, which was conducted a couple of years ago when we had a public survey. We had over 4,000 respondents to that survey to get a better sense of what do people want to see at the next Women Deliver conference and what are some priority areas. So we took that feedback, shared that with the advisory group, and came up with these 5 objectives for the conference. So the first is around catalyzing collective action to advance gender equality. So breaking barriers, addressing challenges, how do we come together and achieve collective action? The second is holding leaders accountable. There's been a lot of commitments made over the past few years through various convenings and forums and moments, Generation Equality Forum just being one of those. But how do we hold these leaders, not just government leaders, but private sector, philanthropist leaders, other leaders in the gender equality space, and hold them accountable and track progress? The third is empowering the feminist movement. So connecting the movement, driving solutions, and providing a space for people to network and come together. And that's why we think convening is so important, especially at this moment. Next slide, please. The fourth is around reframing who leads. So again, really centering grassroots organizations, youth, communities facing systemic discrimination, those that we often don't see necessarily on the plenary stage at convenings or at the opening ceremony. We really feel that it's important that these communities and people are seen as the leaders and the experts that they are, and having, and that leads into our fifth goal, creating that space for that leadership to be on display and on the stage at the conference and accessible to network and to create inclusive spaces while welcoming all to the space. And now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Heba.
Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you so much. So Spaces, Solidarity, Solutions, as Gretchen just told us, is our theme for WD 2023. We're really excited about this theme after so many consultations and discussions with our stakeholders, advisory group, and others. And we really hope you like it and embrace it too. So this section, it's more about how this WD 2023 conference is different than our past conferences. So the generic idea is that we will promote a robust civic space for feminist action, organizing, mobilizing, and it will be more inclusive, diverse, and accessible. Introducing 5 new elements that you can see here. The first one is really about being hybrid. So the conference will be both in person and virtual, and we will be talking about the registration for both soon. This is how we try to make it more accessible, more inclusive, to include those who cannot attend in person. The second element is that we will be helping advocates by equipping them with the needed skills to take action. And this is not only for the conference, it's before, during and after the conference, utilizing what we call global dialogue that will start 6 months ahead of the conference, and you will be hearing more about this soon. The third element is that we will be working in partnership with regional convening partners. Again, you will be hearing more about them soon, to maximize the global effect in different regions across the map. And we are also creating dedicated Generation Equality Forum advocacy spaces, like Gretchen just mentioned, to catalyze on the political change and investment and action and accountability that happened during the Generation Equality Forum last year. And finally, the fifth is that we are committed to develop an accessible and inclusive platform, again, both in person and virtual, that communities that usually or traditionally underrepresented in global convenings can fully participate. Next slide, please. So speaking of the Generation Equality Forum, through our close ties we have with the Generation Equality Forum in partnership with UN Women and others, we're really committed to create, again, inclusive, diverse, accessible, and co-created conference to achieve the goals we aim for. And of course, achieve the goals towards more equal world for gender equality. And I think over to you, Samson.
Thank you, Heba. So you have heard a little bit of it being mentioned by me and also by Heba about the global dialogue. So the global dialogue will take place from January to July 2023, and it will be open to be accessed free of charge by anyone. So the global dialogue aims to present new evidence and knowledge and promote solutions, and to engage a broader spectrum of voices than ever before, to catalyze actions for girls and women that will lead up to the conference, and also to connect diverse communities and sectors by linking previously disparate organizations and movements to drive collective actions on gender equality and sexual reproductive health rights. So in the global dialogue, will include webinars, workshops, and it will be carried out locally while remaining globally accessible on the global dialogue digital platform. This can be organized by different organizations, and so we'll also have satellite events will also be held by local communities around the world and hosted by a wide range of partners, including civil society and youth advocates. Next slide, please. And so we also mentioned that earlier, so the conference will be in person and virtually. So the in-person and digital programming will be accessible from around the globe, including low bandwidth option. We understand there may be some internet problems, but we are taking into consideration. So the structure of the program will be designed through a cross-cutting thematic approach, highlighting the theme of the conference. And select programming, including the plenary sessions, will be live streamed from Kigali. So the virtual conference, we expect to have around 40 to 50 concurrent sessions that will be exclusively on the virtual platform during various time zones, considering where everybody is. And organizations and individuals submitting applications to lead concurrent sessions, which Dana will go in depth in a while, and so we'll be able to choose whether they will be organizing an in-person or virtual sessions. And sessions will be available via recording post the conference. So if you miss any of the programs, will be available on demand. So I'll pause here for a little bit, just to say that please continue putting your questions at Q&A, and we will have a lot of time to address it, and feel free to post your questions in French and Spanish, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Yeah, good. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we have here the regional convening partners. You also heard about it earlier. So the regional convening partners will be chaired by regional committee leads and mobilization and programming during the global dialogue in 2023. So they will serve as an advisory on the advisory group and represent the regions at the conference. So we have so far 4 regional convening partners, as you can see in the map. So for Latin America, so we have the city of Bogota in Colombia. So our host committee chair is the mayor of Bogota, Claudia Lopez. And going into Africa, so we have the Minister of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disability. She'll be chairing South Africa and the Southern Africa host committee chair. And when we go to the Asian Pacific region, we have the host. Our host is the Asian Pacific Resource and Research Center for Women, ARO, in Malaysia, and so they will be our host. And when we go to the region to Manna, so we'll have the Arab Institute for Women at the Lebanese American University, and so it will be chaired by Lina, and there will be our 4th regional convening partners covering the Manna region. Next slide, please. Okay, now I will invite Dana.
Thank you, Samson. So as Heba mentioned earlier, jointly with partners, Women Deliver is working to develop an inclusive, diverse, accessible, and consultative conference for WD 2023 that is co-led and co-created. Among the commitments that we have made, some of which you already have heard about because we have been incorporating this in all aspects of the conference, I can highlight ensuring significant representation from individuals from low and middle income countries. At least 25% of participants, including all members of the current class of Women Deliver Young Leaders, will receive financial support. The conference, as Samson just mentioned, will have components, a virtual and an in-person component to enable more accessibility. Gretchen already mentioned this, a robust advisory group that prioritizes co-creation and co-leadership in the development of the conference. We also have established a streamlined and transparent application submission process. I'm going to go more into detail about this later when we talk about scholarships and concurrence. But just so you know, this launched on July 19th. And to enable broad participation at the conference, we have implemented a tier fee structure that will allow for more participation from low and middle income countries, as well as youth participants. Also, Women Deliver is committed to making all official programming in both physical and virtual spaces accessible. So Women Deliver will provide closed captioning and interpretation in English, French, and Spanish throughout the whole conference, as well as in international sign language. Similarly, we will also provide mental health services, including trauma-informed specialists, child safeguarding, and support and mental health specialists. And in line with this commitment to make all the components of the conference accessible, can you go to the next slide? Sorry. An accessibility audit was conducted by the Rwandan organization Women with Disabilities and Disability Link early in April 2022. We are currently in discussions with the government of Rwanda to take the recommendations of the audit forward. We will also be crafting an accessibility audit report where we will be sharing some of the recommendations publicly on our website. And in terms of our digital spaces, we in April, Experience Dynamics conducted a digital audit of all of our platforms and did a 3-part staff training to Women Deliver staff, where we learned all of the resources to make all of these spaces more accessible. Right now, the website for Women Deliver, as well as our registration and application platforms, were built and updated with accessibility in mind. So they all contain new features to make them more accessible. I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions. And if not, I'll just send it to Veronica.
Thank you, Diana. All right, so I have an exciting component of the conference to talk to you guys about, which is our youth engagement component. As many of you know, youth engagement is a core part of Women Deliver, and it's a core part of this conference. WD 2023 is co-led and co-created with youth, and we aim for them to bring their unique perspectives, their lived experiences, and their expertise to make sure that this conference reflects their interests. So what are some of the features in the conference that will be featuring youth? So just so you know, youth, for the purposes of this conference, will be considered as anyone under 30 for WD 2023. And in the conference itself, we'll feature a youth zone. We'll also have a youth pre-conference, which will happen a couple of days before the WD 2023 starts and is currently being planned with our youth team. We have youth are also an integral part of the global mobilization that Samson spoke about earlier. And so they are an integral part of the global dialogue and of those conversations, and will shape how those conversations move forward. We'll also really be focusing on youth capacity sharing and networking WD 2023, as well as prioritizing intergenerational engagement, both in programming and in interactions throughout the conference. And as you know, co-creating means constant consultation. So one of the ways that Women Deliver is doing this, and this is particularly the youth team in Women Deliver, is there has been the formation of the Women Deliver Youth Engagement Planning Committee. And there was an open call for applications that opened June 30th and closed in July 24, 2022. I know the youth team is currently working and they will be starting their work soon. And this group of individuals made up of young leader alumni, and other youth advocates will be co-creating and co-designing the program conference and all these features that will focus on youth at WD 2023. And so just we wanted to share again what my colleague Diana already shared, which is part of our commitments means that youth will be represented at every panel at Women Deliver 2023. From plenary to concurrence, no panel will be without a youth representative. And in order to also fulfill these commitments, Women Deliver is supporting 1,200 Women Deliver young leaders and alumni to attend the conference both in person and virtually. All right, and I will move on to registration. So registration opened in July during our 1 year out event, and will be open on a rolling basis until capacity is reached. Then a wait list will be initiated. So what does registration cover? So I invite you to check out the website so you can see in detail what registration in person covers. But the in-person registration, to summarize, covers the pre-conference, opening and closing ceremony, concurrence, plenary sessions. It will include refreshments and lunch, as well as a light dinner during the very exciting culture night that the government of Rwanda will be hosting during WD 2023. You'll have mobile app access, the very famous conference tote bag that I'm sure many of us have a whole collection of at home, as well as on-demand recordings of the virtual component. And most importantly, to enable broad participation and inclusivity at WD 2023, we have implemented a tiered fee structure with lower fees for those coming from low and middle income countries and for youth. All right, and onto the virtual component. So we will be having a parallel virtual conference for the first time, and we're really excited about that. And your registration for the virtual conference includes, live streaming access to the opening ceremony, the plenary sessions, and the closing, and then exclusive interactive concurrent sessions that you will be able to other conference attendees. And there is a tiered fee structure for the virtual component as well. And a couple of things to note from questions that we have been getting is that for WD 2023, single day registration is not available for in-person or virtual participation. And on-site registration will not be available. So it's important that you register beforehand through the online portal. And then something different we're doing is group registration is also not available for in-person or virtual participation. All right, and the last thing I'll share with you guys is travel and accommodation. So Women Deliver has been negotiating with airlines and hotels to make sure that we have really great places for you guys to stay, as well as negotiated rates for flights to Kigali. And so as you can see here on the PowerPoint, and we invite you to visit our website, you can book your flights by emailing reservations.kigali@satgurutravel.com. And my colleagues will be placing the information in the chat. And you can go to our website, WD2023conference.org, to book your accommodations. And just want to remark that Women Deliver is committed to hosting an inclusive and accessible convening. So if for people with disabilities, so if you need to be accommodated in any way, please feel free to email us and share, and we will do everything within our power to accommodate your assistance at this conference. All right, and I'm going to pause there for a minute. I know there's usually a lot of questions around registration, so I will pause there for a minute, and please feel free to share your questions in the Q&A box or in the chat.
Thanks, Veronica. I might jump in just to share a couple questions that I've seen along the way on what we've presented so far. So one of the questions on registration was if organizations should apply for a concurrent, who are applying for a concurrent session, should they register now or wait until they hear back on their concurrent session, whether or not they will be accepted? So Deanna will share more on that, the concurrent sessions in a moment and on the timeline. I think if you want to attend the conference regardless of whether or not your session is accepted, you should definitely register now. Deanna will go into more detail, but we do offer discounted registration for speakers and session organizers. So if you do register now and are accepted, we can give you a rebate on to get that discount. But we are also holding spots for concurrent speakers and organizers. So if you if you don't register until you find out your acceptance, that is okay. You don't have to worry about the registration filling up and then you're not able to attend even though you were accepted for a session. And then we had a question on regional convening partners and if we are going to expand to any other regions, including East Africa. So we at the moment are in talks to expand to the Pacific region, but we don't have any other regional convening partners lined up at the moment. This is due to funding constraints, to be quite honest. We have limited fundings and for this pilot program, it's a new program. So it is a priority funding area. If we are able to expand into other regions, that is something we're prioritizing in our funding conversations. That isn't to say that we don't have members of North Africa or East Africa or other regions that sit on our advisory committee or are part of the youth planning committee, etc. It's not to be exclusionary of those regions by any means. There are definitely opportunities to contribute to the conference for people across all regions. I think let's move on to scholarships and then we'll continue to answer questions as we go, but some of these might be answered in the next couple of slides.
Thank you, Gretchen. Next slide, please. So our scholarship program provides financial assistance to people who are seeking to get financial support to cover the cost of their attendance in both in person and virtually. I know there was a question around what the scholarship includes. So in person, it includes all registration fees, hotel accommodation, economy airfare, visa-related, unrelated costs, per diem for meals and ground transportation and health insurance. And for the virtual scholarship, it will cover all registration fees and technology or data stipend. An open call for scholarships open on July 19th and will close in a few weeks on October 1st. In line with our commitments, preference will be given to applicants from low and middle income countries and from populations and communities that have been disproportionately affected by discrimination. And those who have not previously been awarded a scholarship to attend a Women Deliver conference. For those persons with disabilities who travel with an assistant or minors under the age of 18 who will be required to travel with a chaperone, scholarship will also cover the needs for one additional person. Next slide, please. I already mentioned the deadline to apply, which is October 1. Upon acceptance, scholarship recipients must commit to actively participate during the full duration of the conference, adhere to the code of conduct, and share knowledge that they have gained at the conference and global dialogue with their community members through a mechanism of their choice. It could be hosting an event, writing a blog, sharing on social media. Folks can get very creative about this and then report back to Women Deliver by the end of 2023. Because we have received this recurring question, I just wanted to also say that if you're only able to attend with financial support, you don't need to register right now for the conference separately. Please proceed to only submit your scholarship application as Gretchen mentioned before. Same as with Concurrence, we will be reserving those spots for scholarship awardees. If for some reason you are able to secure any kind of like external financial support to support your attendance to the conference, please let us know and proceed to register for the conference. Upon closing the deadline, Women Deliver and members of the advisory group will be reviewing all of the applications received and will be notifying scholarship recipients on January 2023. Next slide, please. And I'll send it back to Veronica.
Thank you, Diana. All right, so I will go through the program at a glance and what that's looking at right now. This is just a really nice preview, as details will be coming out within the next months. So we will be starting on Sunday with the pre-conferences, and my colleagues will be going through what pre-conferences entail and how you can host a pre-conference and participate in pre-conference a little later in the presentation. Then on Monday, we will be having a series of key policy side events, which have also happened in previous years, and that are to be held in parallel to WD 2023. And that includes the Ministerial Forum, the Parliamentarian Forum, and Generation Equality Forum convening. So those are really key policy side events that will be happening in parallel to WD 2023. And then the rest of that Monday, there will be the rest of the pre-conferences. And that evening, we officially start the conference, and there will be a really exciting opening ceremony. Members of the community will also be invited to the opening ceremony, and we expect around 10,000 people. So that should be a really, really fun and exciting event. And then we will be holding a welcome reception for attendees after the opening ceremony. On Tuesday, there will be the parallel side events, and then we will start with the official conference programming. We will have other side events as well to be held in parallel to WD 2023. And again, my colleagues will go over how you can host a side event and what that entails. And then the rest of the day will be divided between plenaries and concurrents. We'll pause for lunch, and we'll again go into the main programming with plenaries and concurrents. And we will finish off with side events that will be held mostly by you members of the gender advocacy community. And then on Wednesday, it's going to be a very similar setup. But on Wednesday night, the government of Rwanda will be hosting a culture night, and we'll be hosting attendees for that culture night. We don't have specific details, but we are really excited about that, what that might entail, and really excited to share with the Rwandan community and their culture. And then on Thursday, we will finish off the day a bit earlier. We will continue to have side events and go into main programming, and then we'll be closing the day with the closing ceremony before each of us heads out and home, hopefully really pumped up and ready to take action for gender equality. All right, and I'll talk a little bit about plenary, which is my focus. So we can't share a whole lot on plenary at the moment because we are deep in the planning, but we're really excited. We already have a number of topics, and those topics have been a result of been informed by Women Delivers Global Community Consultation that Gretchen mentioned, as well as by members of the WD 2023 advisory group, some of which you are here. And we are working with the advisory group, co-creating and co-designing 10 plenary sessions, plus the opening and closing ceremony. These plenary sessions will be large. They're going to feature presentations and panels. They're going to have a wide range of voices and experiences, and will be moderated by world-class journalists such as Femi Oke and other professionals. As I mentioned, we are currently co-creating the program of the plenary. We have also held design sprints together with different representatives of the gender equality advocacy community, including youth, partner organizations, sponsors and funders, and others. And that program is currently being reviewed by the WD2023 advisory group. We are still looking for ideas for speakers on the plenary. So if you really are passionate about seeing someone on the plenary stage, please use the speaker suggestion form that my colleagues are currently placing in the chat to share your speaker and other ideas for the WD 2023 plenary stage. All right, and I'm passing it back to my colleague Diana, who will talk about concurrence.
Thank you, Veronica. Thank you. So concurrent sessions for both on-site and virtual conference will be selected through an open application that is currently open until November 1st. The deadline was extended this week. So any of you who are already planning to submit an application and working on your proposals, you'll have some extra time to work on those. Sessions will be organized through a matrix approach. This time we will not have the traditional tracks for the conference. However, we will be organizing sessions through and the whole concurrent program through this intersectional approach. This will include conference objectives, issue areas of interest, desired learning approaches or format, and specific advocacy strategies. And we're very excited about this approach because it will allow attendees to tailor their experience at the conference. Applications will be available, next slide, please. Applications will be available in English, French, and Spanish, and we will have interpretation available for all sessions, so you can also lead and run sessions in any of these 3 languages. So organizations that want to apply to organize a concurrent session, any organization that works to advance gender equality and the health and well-being of girls and women is welcome to apply. Organizers are strongly encouraged to submit an application in partnership with another organization. We are encouraging a co-creation approach in all of the sessions. Organizations may submit up to 3 applications in total for either on-site or virtual concurrent sessions. And the discounted registration rate that Gretchen mentioned before will cover up to 5 speakers for 1 session and 2 organizers for that session. I know there was a question about this discounted rate. And this will be specifically for those selected to present a session during the conference. Also, concurrent session organizers may request additional financial support for up to 1 speaker in the application form. You'll see in the form that my colleagues are also sharing in the chat right now. Similar to the scholarship process, upon closing the application period, we will be reviewing all of the applications jointly with the AG members, with the advisory group members, and we will be notifying selected organizers by January 2023. Next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of guidelines for the organizers, in line with Women Deliver commitments, all panels must include at least 1 speaker from a low and middle income country, at least 1 youth speaker, and at least 1 speaker from a marginalized community or community disproportionately affected by discrimination. If you need to get in touch with any of the young leaders or any speakers and other individuals that have expressed any interest in speaking opportunities, please let us know, get in touch with us. We can facilitate those introductions for you to create and propose your session. In terms of guidelines, we encourage a speaker diversity, including geography, gender, age, communities affected by discrimination, and ensuring that various sectors are represented. However, we know that sometimes civil society organizations, there can be like a lot of good contributions from civil society organizations. Sessions must relate to the conference theme and objectives, as I mentioned before, and organizers are encouraged to apply an intergenerational and intersectional approach to their sessions. Also to create a productive balance between presentations and interactive discussions with participants. And to ensure significant contributions from the speakers, we recommend no more than 5 speakers per session, including the moderator. Next slide, please. And I will send it back to Gretchen, I think.
No, actually, it's me. Okay, thank you, Diana. We'll have pre-conferences which are planned to take place July 16th on a full day and July 17th half day. This is like one day before the start of the official conference. So we're planning to have around 10 pre-conferences, and as Women Deliver will have a youth pre-conference. So if you are interested in to host any of the pre-conferences, you can reach out to us at WD2023 at womendeliver.org. So to host a pre-conference, it requires additional funding from the organizers, and the Women Deliver 2023 Conference Advisory Group will determine priority areas for the conference, for the pre-conferences. So if you are interested, again, you can reach out to us and we can facilitate. And we plan to have around 10 pre-conferences for WD 2023. Next slide, please. So as mentioned earlier, so we have side events during our conference. So the partners on site can host the side events taking place at the Kigali convention centers and pre-selected nearby hotels. And side events will happen in the morning, early in the morning, during lunch hours, and in the evening. So the exact time can be found on our website. Also, it's also now on the chat. You can find more information. So our side event packages will include the venue, the staging, and basic AV. And side events are available on first come and first serve basis. We started receiving applications on July 19th. As you can see here, we have different prices for organizing side events. So we have also an option for non-profit and for profit organizations. We have different kinds of rooms, like that could hold up to 50 people. We have mid-sized rooms that could hold up to 100 people, and we have large rooms that could hold up to 250 people. If any organization that's interested in organizing a bigger side event, like let's say more than 400 people, they can reach out to us and we can facilitate. Next slide, please. And we also have an exhibition space so the exhibition booths are 3 by 3 meters in size and will be hosted at the exhibition village at the Kigali Convention Center. So each exhibitor request will be accepted on first come and first serve basis. So we start accepting application on July 19th and still ongoing. But due to limited capacity, organization may only book one exhibition booth at a time, so that keep fair and give opportunities to others. And unfortunately, we are only accepting application for on-site exhibitors. We don't have for the virtual component of the conference. We don't have a virtual exhibition booth, unfortunately. So we also have prices for it for non-profit organizations and for profit organizations. So the exhibitions also will go on from July 17th to the 20th. Next slide, please. Okay. Veronica, it's you, right? Or Gretchen?
Oh, I know. Sorry, we
Again.
keep going various places. But really anybody on the team can speak to any of these. So we're all happy to answer your questions. I'm going to talk briefly just about some of the other program. We've talked about the core conference programming elements, but some of these other items are also going to be at the next conference and have been at previous conferences. So the first is the Ministerial Forum, which will be hosted by the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion of Rwanda, and also with UN Women. And we'll be inviting ministers to attend the conference and attend their own forum to gather. And they're still working on that programming and what will be discussed and what the theme of that convening will be. That's similarly for the Parliamentarian Forum. This is something we've also hosted at previous Women Deliver conferences. It will be led by UNFPA and the European Parliamentarian Forum for Sexual and Reproductive Rights. So they have been in connection and will be hosting that forum with parliamentarians from around the world. The third, which we just launched today, which is very exciting, is the Arts and Film Festival. It will be curated by Emmy-winning film director Lisa Russell, and she will be she'll host a space at the conference where film screenings will take place, as well as other mediums are available to apply. So if you're an artist or a dancer, or a musician, etc., you can submit your information. Thank you for jumping into this other slide here. You can see the deadlines that we have: early bird, regular, late, extended. So there's lots of time to apply and submit your artwork. We're really excited to expand this programming. We've previously hosted a film corner at previous conferences, so we're excited to expand into other art. And you can see for more information on the guidelines and requirements, you can go to the link there. And just to say, I know we're sharing a lot of links and things in the chat. We will follow up, so you don't need to worry. We will follow up with all of those links and information after the session as well. So then back to the other programming, we will of course have networking spaces, both formal and informal. Some of these will be led by our regional convening partners. And then we will also host a media training and scholarship program for journalists and LMICs. Some of the other ideas that we're still in discussion around are storytelling space, social enterprise challenge, feminist hackathon, solutions gallery and showcases, collective care. Those are all some of the priorities that have come up within the advisory group, and also that we've been hearing through our focus groups and previous surveys that folks would like to see. So more to come over the next few months. We'll be sharing opportunities through our newsletter and on our website on other ways to get involved. And before we pause for questions, Heba will wrap up the presentation.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. So it's time to just give an overview of the funders and sponsors of WD 2023. So basically the support for the conference comes actually in many forms. If we can go to, yeah, that's the perfect slide. Thank you. It comes actually in different forms, whether it's a nonprofit organization, corporates, governments, and more. And worth to note that the majority of sponsorship opportunities that Women Deliver had in 2019 was actually utilized by NGOs. So 80% of the conference sponsors in 2019 were from nonprofit sector. So as you can see from this table, we offer various types of engagement opportunities so that you can select what's best for you and for your organization and for your outreach objectives. And we're really thankful for all the support we get so far and the future ones as well. And if you're interested to join us, please contact us on this email here, sponsorship@womendeliver.org, to further discuss our collaboration and how we can further support the conference and its objectives. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, those are our funders and sponsors for WD 2023 so far. Again, we're so thankful to have all of these names as partners, not just for the conference, but also as partners in our work to push the gender equality agenda forward. So we are waiting for your questions regarding the sponsorship. We're waiting for your emails to the email just mentioned and in the chat as well. And with this, we conclude our presentation for today. And now it's your turn to share any questions you might have. We already have a set of questions that the team will be responding to. And please, just a reminder to submit your thoughts and questions in the below Q&A, and we're excited to hear from you all. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Heba. Yes, please continue to submit your questions in the Q&A and in the chat. I'm going to go through some of them that I know we might not have answered and that we have received so far. I know that we might not get to every question, so please look at our FAQ page. The link is up there for our conference website. We answer a lot of recurring questions there. And then if you still have questions or comments, etc., you can reach us at WD2023@womendeliver.org, and we will get back to you. So some of the questions that came up around registration, we can start there. Had a question around refunding registration fees if you have to cancel for any reason. So our policy is that we do not refund registration, but you can transfer it if there is another person that in your organization, for example, if you're unable to attend, you can transfer that registration to them. If it is in a dire emergency or something, you can always reach out to us and we can handle that one-on-one. We also had a question on COVID vaccination policy or COVID policies and if we have a vaccination policy. We are following Rwandan guidelines and we're working very closely with the government of Rwanda and the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Gender on what our protocol should be. So we haven't shared those yet, as we know a lot changes very quickly in this area. So we will share more when it comes closer to the conference next year on what the guidelines will be for the conference, but we don't have those set at the moment. Another question was around virtual convening, the virtual conference. And if there will be what will be live streamed and if in-person events will be live streamed for those viewing virtually. So what we know we will be live streaming are the plenary sessions and the opening and closing ceremonies available to anybody to view. The virtual conference will have its own specific content created for the virtual convening. So concurrent sessions, for example, as Diana mentioned, when you apply, you can apply to host one virtually or one in person, and those would be exclusively available to the virtual conference audience, and they would also be recorded for those who are attending the virtual conference to view after. We're still determining all of the details of the virtual convening and what can be live streamed from Kigali and vice versa. We'll be sharing more to come on that, but just know that the virtual conference will have exclusive content. We feel that it is important for the quality of the experience that folks that are convening in person are able to meet, folks that are convening online are able to meet on those online spaces. There's a couple questions on concurrent sessions. Deanna, do you want to address some of those?
Sure. So I see a question about if one of the speakers that you suggest to organize a concurrent session, if there have to be a youth. If it's a panel, absolutely yes. All of the other learning formats and approaches that you decide to take for your own session, that can be optional as long as you include any other speakers that are from LMICs or from a community that has been disproportionately affected by discrimination. We do encourage intergenerational approach in your session, so bear that in mind as you think about the session that you want to submit. I saw another question. If an individual can apply for a concurrent session, yes. Anyone can apply as long as you have an idea of what you want to present. There are different learning formats, as I mentioned before, that might suit best to just one individual presenting a concurrent session. But we do encourage co-creation with in partnership with other individuals or organization, as that's one of our priorities. What else is here?
I think there were a couple of questions on scholarships that we might be able to address as well. Let's see, the question around registering for a scholarship, but don't have a passport yet. Deanna, do you want to take that?
Yes, we are taking those on a case-by-case basis. As long as you will have a passport by the end of 2022, we can accept your scholarship. However, we do encourage applicants to start working on renewing or getting your passports before submitting your application. We do know that the deadline can be a little tight in regards to getting your passport in time, but as long as you let us know through the email that we shared before, WD2023@womendeliver.org, we can be able to work with you. This does not mean that we're going to select you. We just are going to accept that application and take it into consideration for the whole application review process.
Thanks, Deanna. And I noted we had another question on plenary. We have a question stating, we see that the plenary will be co-created and there will be cross-cutting themes. Can you give us an idea of what some of those themes and topics will be? Veronica, do you want to give kind of some examples of what we are currently discussing with the advisory group?
Yeah, and I had just seen your question, Shisina. So yes, indeed, the plenary is being co-created, but we do, so I do want to share, and I'll put it in your question in the chat, that a lot of these themes and cross-cutting issues that the plenary will be covering came from the global community consultation. And to share some of these themes, so something that came out during the global community consultation and during our own design sessions with youth, with the Women Deliver advisory group and with other groups was decolonization, of course, keeping in line with how this conference originated, sexual reproductive health and rights. There was a lot of requests for a plenary session on fighting against the pushback from anti-rights groups. There will be a session on localization, and these are some of the cross-cutting themes that have come across, as well as has happened at previous Women Deliver conferences. We will be having a big plenary, probably on what the state of the gender equality movement is and where we are, and kind of a taking stock plenary. But I will post in your question a link to the global community consultation, and I encourage you to sign up for our newsletter to receive updates. We will be updating on plenaries and speakers as we get closer to the conference.
Thanks, Veronica. So I also noted a question on format for sessions. Deanna noted that there's a lot of different options for format if you're submitting a session. It can be a traditional panel, it can be a workshop, a skills building workshop, It can be more of a networking event. We're really open to see creative ideas on how to make interactive sessions both in person and online. So yes, if you want to do a roundtable or small group activities or breakouts, you have a lot of flexibility within that 90 minutes. That's what all the session length of time will be. I noted a question on about safety and security. Samson, do you want to just talk about who we're working with within the Rwandan Convention Bureau and in Rwanda to ensure safety and security?
Yes, thank you, Gretchen. So we are working with we are working closely with the government of Rwanda, also the Rwanda Convention Center. So we take safety very seriously, and also like working closely with the government and to ensure that anyone who comes to attend the conference feels safe and also be able to participate freely. And we have a continuous discussion with the government and the team, and also led by the Ministry of Gender and Promotion. So we continue to address if we see anything, but we are closely working with the government to address any concerns that may arise in regards to safety.
Yeah, and I'll just add that we know that we're talking a lot, we're talking about sensitive topics for some, and that we have a very diverse conference, and that includes the diversity of topics, but also of who is attending the conference. And as Samson noted, it's really a priority for us. If you have any concerns or things that you would like to have a discussion with a member of the team about, please do email us. And we're very eager to hear any feedback or if you need just further clarification on any of the measures that is taking place to ensure safety and security at the conference.
Yeah, and if you feel there's any concern, just reach out to us, and we'll try to address it and also raise it with the government of Rwanda.
All right, I think we've addressed a lot of the questions I have seen. I think there was just maybe one other question on how many side events versus concurrent events can people and organizations submit. So there is a maximum for concurrent sessions of organizations submitting 3 per organization. We also really encourage you to partner with other organizations when submitting, or to work with a network or a coalition that you're a part of, just so we can, we think that cross collaboration and co-creation is really important aspect of the conference. For partner side events, we don't have a limit on the number of applications you can submit, but just note, as Samson went over, there is a cost associated with a partner side event, and it is first come, first serve. Whereas there is not a cost for the space or the venue when it comes to concurrent sessions hosting those. So there is a bit of a difference there. And if you need further clarification, I encourage you to look online. We have the separate web pages, and also to reach out if we can answer or provide any further clarification. Team, any other questions that I might have missed? Okay, well then I think just in wrap up, I will say that we have a lot open right now. In terms of content, concurrent applications, we extended that deadline to November 1. So please work with your organizations or partners on submitting those applications by then. And then scholarships are due in the next couple of weeks. Those applications are due October 1st. So those are coming up a little bit sooner, and we'll get back to you on both of those items and elements of acceptance early in 2023, so that everyone can start planning the logistics if you're able to attend the conference. And of course, registration is open for both the virtual conference and the in-person conference. We really appreciate everybody sharing the registration link and signing up as soon as you are able to for both virtual and in-person. And then the film festival, Arts and Film Festival, that is now open as well. As of today, very exciting, hot off the presses news that you can submit your artwork or film to that festival. And Heba shared the link to the newsletter. Really encourage everybody to sign up for the newsletter. It's a great way to get information right as it comes out and to get reminders on deadlines and when there's new programming announcements, they'll be in our newsletter. Other than that, please reach out to us at WD2023@womendeliver.org. If you have any other questions, comments, we're here to answer. And just really thank everybody for taking the time out of their mornings, their evenings. I know we have folks from all over the world attending, so really appreciate everybody joining us. And I hope we see you online again soon or in Kigali next year. Thank you, everyone.